is the Tao of Jeet. If you have any feedback, provide feedback. Any questions, ask questions. Page 64. Ideally, a fighter should seek to impose his cadence on an opponent. This may be achieved by intentionally varying the cadence of his own movements. For example, he can deliberately establish a certain rhythm in his feints in a composite attack until the defender is induced to follow that cadence.
Is that like setting like a rhythm?
Yeah.
To your own, opportunity?
Yes. By obtaining an edge of speed on the adversary, the fighter may lead him. In other words, it is the adversary who continually will have to try to catch up. If one has a sufficient margin of speed on hand, it is possible to maintain this advantage. To do so must have a moral effect on the opponent, who, finding himself subjected to this adversary's will in his important factor of speed, cannot fail to suffer in his confidence.
So that sounds like not to get too carried away, or like still be cognizant.
But this one's saying about having greater speed will pretty much give you an advantage and give you more confidence, because the other person will always be trying to catch up. So he's basically just talking about the importance of having a lot of speed and using that to build your confidence. The preparation by a series of false attacks and feints executed at a normal rhythm has the effect of lulling the opponent into a false sense of preparedness. It accustoms his reactions to a cadence other than that which will be used for the attack itself. Then the movements compromising the final attack are suddenly accelerated and more likely to find him lagging behind.
My understanding is that the acceleration of the speed kind of makes your opponent not understanding your tactics of offense.
Yes.
But is speed a factor when you're fighting, or is it about calculated moves and knowing when to strike and when to strike?
It's all of them. All of them combined. So calculation, timing, and speed, they're all different. They're all important. A very effective change of cadence is to slow down instead of speed up, the final action of a compound attack or riposte. This slowing of cadence can be pictured as a strike whose delivery is begun, halted in its path forward, and continued when the adversary leaves the threatened line for another in the hope of finding the hand. Speed applied at the opportune moment, together with the correctly judged cadence and the execution of the movement, will go a long way toward ensuring the success of a stroke. Tempo. The success of movement, defensive or offensive, depends on whether we perform it at the right time or not. We must surprise our opponent and catch the opponent of his helplessness. The little fragment of time, one beat in a cadence, which is the most suitable to accomplish the effective action, is called tempo. From a psychological point of view, the moment of surprise, and from the physical point of view, the moment of helplessness, are the right moments to attack. This is the true conception of tempo, choosing the exact psychological and physical moment of weakness in an opponent.
So it's saying that the best opportunities to strike are like moments of helplessness and what else?
The moment of surprise. So you think about it in the streets, that's why it's so hard in the streets, because you might have an enemy and you just drive in your car, and next thing you know he just drives by and just comes, shoots and kills you, you know? Like it's just surprised.
Yeah.
You know, or you're sitting in the bus, you're listening to your music, and all of a sudden just one of your enemies just comes and attacks you out of nowhere. That's surprise. That's what makes it so difficult. Is the surprise element is the most difficult element, because you got to be aware at all times. You don't know when the person's going to try to attack you. Usually you're always going to be caught off guard, off that surprise, unless you're like always aware, but then it's difficult.
Yeah.
You know, you could be standing in the bank and all of a sudden somebody comes in there with a gun, and that's a surprise. But say he shoots the person in front of you first, then you have some time to respond based off of that. But if he just came right in the bank and shot right at you, you don't really have much time to respond unless you prepared beforehand going to the bank that this place might get held up. So let me stand behind this object and look at the door.
Yeah.
You know, that's why sometimes police officers, even when they're off duty, they usually, when they go to a restaurant or anywhere they go, they usually sit in the back of the room looking at the door, because they're always trying to habitually train themselves to be aware. Mm-hmm. Or even for me, when I drive, sometimes instead of pulling right up next to a car, I'll just pull up like kind of behind the car, so then if the guy wanted to shoot me, they had to shoot like this rather than like that.
Yeah.
So then it's just, if somebody wanted to kill me in that car, it'd be harder for them to kill me because I'm kind of behind them, you know. Just like thinking about stuff like that gives you more of a reaction time, but that's how people get you, just by surprise. Because you could be a great fighter, but if somebody just comes up to you and just stabs you or shoots you or just punches you as hard as they can, or just hits you in the back with a bat in the back of the head when you're not ready, then that's when you just lost, because you got surprised. So in a sparring context, it's not like street fighting, because there's no surprises. As far as the beginning of the fight, we bow to each other, so we're ready, showing, okay, we're ready, let's go. But on the streets, they don't wait till you're ready. They just hit you. So sometimes you might, if you're well trained, sometimes you just might take that hit, and then that's like, all right, we're fighting now, and then that's you kick right into it, you know. But if they hit you really hard with an object or something, then you can't even recover in time to fight back. So, like a lot of times on the street, say they hit you with the fist as hard as they can. If you're well trained, it might not knock you out, but it might make you dizzy, and you see stars, and you gotta fight right away, right there, you know. Like there's no like timeout. Like it's like, all right, he just hit me, I'm dizzy. All right, let me shake it off. Let me fight back right now, you know. But I think a lot of it on the street is being aware of your surroundings, like just not letting people get too close to you that might be a threat, and then you have more time to respond to any surprises. There are also tempo opportunities when the opponent makes conscious movement. That is, when he steps forward, makes an invitation, goes into a bind, etc. In such and similar cases, the moment of attack is when he is executing the movement, because until he finishes it, he cannot change to the reverse.
discussed last week.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of movement, like even if you jump, you just can't make yourself be back on the ground.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think we actually went through mostly. I'm just rereading it, but we'll just keep going. Every action at the peak of the art of fighting is tempo, but be careful that the adversary does not mislead you by giving false tempo opportunities. Attack when your opponent is preoccupied, when he is preparing his offense, on his advance, his absence of touch, his engagement and change of saying. Such requires an unceasing concentration and vigilance. Regard your opponent's concentration in terms of a graph and attack in the depressions in his moments of irresolution. The choice of time is a supreme factor in the success of an offense. Develop it. Even faultless technique and lightning rapidity will fail if the attack is launched out of time. The how-to is important, but to be successful necessitates the why and the when. Stop hit. When the distance is wide, the attacking opponent requires some sort of preparation. Therefore, attack him on his preparation of attack. A stop hit is a timed hit made against the adversary at the same time he is making an attack. It anticipates and intercepts the final line of attack and is delivered in such a way that the executant is covered, either by being in line behind the hit or by supplementary covering. To ensure success, it must have correct anticipation and timing plus precise placement. Essentially, a stop hit arrests the opponent in the development of his attack. It can be direct or indirect. It may be used as he steps forward to kick or punch, when he is preoccupied with feinting, or between two moves of a complicated combination. Stop hit. 1. On the opponent's preparation of stepping forward. 2. To stop his attack while his arm is still bent. 3. When the opponent feints very wide, exposing his guard. 4. Against an attack with wide, badly directed hand movements. 5. Before applying immobilization, using a direct or indirect stop hit. 6. On the first feint from the on-guard position before lunging with a real attack. The stop hit is an excellent means of defense against an opponent, especially against his advanced parts and exposed lines, who attacks wildly with insufficient care to covering, or against one who just comes too close.
Can you elaborate on that one, please?
Okay. Stop hit is an excellent means of defense against an opponent, especially against his advanced parts and exposed lines. So, his advanced parts, he's talking about he's advancing on you, so he's going to have to step forward. So say he steps forward his right leg, that's his advanced part. And then his advanced part is just the first parts of his body that are delicate to attack. That's his advanced part. Exposed lines are like the line of defense is right here. So if he's advancing on you, look at his exposed line, look at his face, look at his throat, look at his chest, look at his stomach, look at his groin area. Those are his exposed line. Is he exposing anything? Is he putting his arm out and exposing his ribs? You know, is he have his hands down exposing his face? Okay? Does he have both his hands up exposing his groin area? So look at those exposed lines. So excellent means of defense against an opponent who attacks wildly with insufficient care to covering. So that's like somebody who just he just swings at you and then he just doesn't guard his body. Like he just take a wild swing and then he's not protecting his line of defense. He's just swinging wildly. Then the stop hit is excellent against someone like that. Or against someone who just comes too close. So somebody who just keeps walking towards you without even thinking about getting hit. Like he's just walking towards you. So he's getting too close to you, so you just hit him to stop him. Correct appreciation of time and distance is essential in making an effective stop hit. While it is usually made with a straight thrust or kick, the stop hit may also be part of a disengagement or counter disengagement, or may be done while ducking or slipping. Sometimes a stop hit necessitates some angulation of the body in order to dominate the opponent's hand. A stop hit oftentimes necessitates a step forward to land ahead of the opponent's focus. It is advisable at least to lean forward as if to meet the attacker. A stop hit is more often useful and successful against attacks that begin with a step forward, while the margin of time allowing for success is greater than against attacks not preceded by a step. We can therefore say that generally the stop hit is the stroke chosen to deal with the stepping preparation. A person should train himself to be constantly prepared to make a stop hit during the course of any movement of a phase. The successful introduction of a stop hit not only enables many valuable hits to be scored, but has a devastating moral effect on a forceful and confident opponent. Train the stop hit with great speed and accuracy from a variety of angles.
Just a little down before, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely work on what he said. I would have done it for sure. How does your body feel? Do you feel like doing a little sparring today or no?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay. We'll have you work on some drills with him first.